evening, everybody, and welcome to our special night with Laurel Woodward, the author of Kitchen Witchery. The book, this beautiful cookbook. Not just a cookbook, it has so much information and wonderful insight in it. So Laurel Woodward is our guest tonight. She's a writer, a gardener, and cooking and a cook living in the Pacific Northwest. She is living a magical life there in the Pacific Northwest, and she can probably tell us some of the crazy storms that are going on right now and all the beauty up there right now. So she has previously written for magazines and e-zines on subjects of healthy living, organic gardening, and sustainable living, and especially on the magic of tapping creative energy. Kitchen Witchery, Unlocking the Magic in Everyday Ingredients. This is her first book. So welcome, Laurel.
Why, thank you. Welcome to my kitchen.
We are so excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about your book and what brought you to this type of writing?
Well, I've always been a writer. I always wanted to write crime fiction or YA, and I wrote several, but no one wanted to read them but me. And I wrote Kitchen Witchery. It was a completely different book, and I sent it in to Llewellyn, and I got an email back that said, "Oh, we love it. We're so excited. Sign this contract," and I did. And then they put it to a visionary board and changed the whole thing, and it became this gorgeous, gorgeous book. And I learned so much in the process. And I have a second one coming out in July. A garden book about creating sacred space.
That is so exciting because you have created many special magical garden spaces. I know I have known Laurel for several years, and I've always been amazed by your gardening abilities and your cooking abilities. So
why, thank you.
When you told me you had written a cookbook, I was so excited. And this one is just really magical.
I've always found solace in cooking and feeding, and it was interesting how it evolved of all my favorite recipes together in one spot. So,
so what was the book like before they changed it, and how did you feel about that? You're happy, obviously, with the final product, but
oh, I am really happy. It wasn't organized like this. It was basically, how this started was I started writing a list of histories and lores and magical correspondence for different plants in my garden. And it first was in book form, and then it got too messy and got transferred to digital. And it ended up into the 600-page compilation. And when I decided to write Kitchen Witchery, I chopped out all the kitchen parts, the culinary herbs and the food parts, and put it all together. And it was a compendium with recipes, and then a wheel of the year at the end. And the wheel of the year got chopped out into just one recipe and one activity for each section, because it was like 60 pages. It was a pretty big section. And a lot of the things that I had written couldn't be cited anywhere. So a lot of those things got chucked out too, or got morphed into what could be upheld with a citation, fact by fact, you know. And when you're talking about, you know, old stories and wives' tales and just folklore of a region, a lot of that stuff's not written down. So anyway, it was a little troubling at first, but I really, really, really liked how I was guided and told what to do, and how the direction they gave me was fabulous. And one thing, all you writers out there, if you give somebody something to read and they spend their time and they give you some words of wisdom back, if you should listen to whatever it is they said. Go over it a couple times, because I have found that it will come back to haunt you regardless if you don't do anything about it. So this garden book's going to be, it was so much easier to write and took so much less editing. And because once you learn the process, it's just so much easier to do.
So for those that haven't read the book, because we don't have it in our library yet, and maybe people that are at home haven't had a chance to look at it. So you are a pagan, and so that is where the kitchen witchery part comes in.
Yeah.
And can you talk about a little about what led you to that, and also for the people that aren't familiar with paganism, how any everyday reader could connect to this book and
sure.
your writing?
For me, living a pagan lifestyle is about connecting with nature and honoring nature, and finding divinity in each of the creatures that I come across, be it a bird or a mouse or a tree. And as far as kitchen witchery, everyone has the ability to apply it. I mean, we eat every day, and it's just being mindful and applying an attention as you consciously create something. I first came upon the idea in Deborah Blake's book, The Goddess in the Details. And she was talking about how everyday things can be done ritually to give them meaning. And that really spoke to me. And then I was on a plane flying from Portland to Los Angeles, and I was reading this in-flight magazine that was there on the plane, and a pastry chef who happened to be Jewish and was creating something for some celebration, I forgot which one, was talking about how she set her feet and engaged her muscles and pushed her intention into the loaf of bread. And that just really clicked. And that is pretty much where this idea came from, about the baking with intention and the conscious creation in the kitchen.
Now, I should have dog-eared that page, because that is what I loved that so much about the book, was how you said you set your feet, you ground your body, and you set that intention into whatever recipe it is you're cooking. And I love that in your recipes, you talk about kind of the elements of each ingredient, and how you can use those ingredients to, you're giving your love to your family through this dish, including these ingredients and this little special elements that each has.
Yeah, their energy supports the intention that you put into it. That's an idea that goes across cultures. It's not a new idea. It's been looked at in Italian and French and I can't say that word, the Indian cooking, Ayurveda. How do you say that?
Ayurveda.
There you go, Ayurveda. The most important ingredient is the thoughts of the chef. That was where that comes. Or a mother's love is in her cooking, or cooking is love made visible. All of those are the idea that your thoughts matter. And I've been coming across it in more and more things, from tea bags, on a tea bag, to on a package of ramen where it says, put your water in, wait 4 minutes, and have happy thoughts. I was even reading a book on garden amendments, and it was an academic book. And the man stopped talking about making this garden amendment in a bucket, and he was talking about stirring it. And he said, in the ideas of energy, no one knows all of everything about energy. And if you hold positive thoughts and use the muscles of your body to put your positive thoughts into the water, they become part of the garden amendment to nurture your plants. And I just thought that was fascinating.
So will we see more of that in your upcoming book?
Oh yeah, I quote that. I quote that from him because I just love that passage.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thought, and
yeah,
so simple and applicable.
Right. Something we can do with every action, regardless of the medium.
Mm-hmm. Did you find any ingredients specifically that spoke to you in your cooking, or you kind of just find that it depends on the meal and the situation and the desired outcome?
I eat seasonally, and I have a garden, so I eat a lot of what I grow. So summer, it was zucchini, and I love zucchini, and I made all kinds of zucchini stuff. And then it was tomatoes. Now it's pumpkins. I've cooked probably 8 pumpkins already this season. And I just made a pumpkin fettuccine that was amazing. But yes, I think what first really brought me to this though was baking bread. And there's such a solace in baking bread. Did you know at the beginning of this pandemic, did you notice how on all the different Facebook feeds and Instagrams, people were baking bread? And I think it's part of the old craft. Not only does it give us a sense of stability and comfort, but it reaches back through time to connect us with knowledge that's being lost. So I think it would be all garden vegetables and bread.
I remember the first time you got into making bread. I remember seeing pictures, and I think it inspired me to get into baking bread.
I remember when we worked together, we used to peruse cookbooks and try out different recipes.
Mm-hmm.
I take cookbooks to bed at night, just to read through them at night. I love that.
Yeah, I love yours because you have that extra knowledge in there.
Thank you.
About so much about the ingredients, which is so important to know. The health benefits of all the ingredients.
And the history of food is fascinating. It really is fascinating.
So you talked a little about where you find inspiration. Did you want to add anything else to?
Do you think we should start cooking just so we can get these into the oven?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Get sidetracked otherwise. So you talked about the last part that they chopped down in your book, the wheel.
Oh yes, yeah.
So what it turned into was, what did it turn into? Just
this last back section.
But they call it something. The recipes for the seasons.
Yes, recipes for the seasons.
Go ahead. You'll tell us all about what you're doing.
And this one is a Halloween bread. It's a bread of the dead. It's called soul cakes. Originally it came from the Christian tradition of handing out soul cakes to singers who came around, and kind of morphed into a Halloween practice. But these are made with currants. I couldn't find currants, so I'm going to use cranberries, dried cranberries. But basically they're like a sweet biscuit. So I'm going to start, and you'll need a cup of butter. We're going to, the oven's preheated to 375, and I'm going to cream the butter and sugar together, and that's 1 cup of butter and 1 cup of sugar. Yeah, I'm going to start with those. My kitchen.
Turn your camera down so we can see.
Oh, yes. My kitchen is so cold. I'm not sure how long this will take. How's that view? Is that good?
That's perfect.
Oh, and actually the butter's coming. I took it out long enough that it's It's working. And then we're gonna add 2 eggs. Just break them into it one at a time. There it goes. It's getting nice and creamy. There's a block of butter stuck on the paddle. So there it goes. So now I have it nice and creamed. Don't know if you can see that. And in another bowl, we are going to put our flour, and the recipe does say sift. You don't have to sift, you can whisk it. I'm using a gluten-free flour to flour substitute because I want to eat these and I can't eat flour. This is Bob's Red Mill, the gluten-free cup for cup substitute, and it works really good for biscuits and things like that. It's great for pancakes, but it's not that great for bread. It doesn't come out the same. You also, so that was 3.5 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, teaspoon of salt, and then the spices, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ginger, a teaspoon of allspice, and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. So 2 of cinnamon. I have to use half. So 2 teaspoons cinnamon, 2 teaspoons ginger. Oh, it smells so good. I was reading, I do a lot of research for these books, and I'm actually started a 3rd one called Wellness Witchery, but it's a lot of bath bombs and bath salts and bath magic. And I was reading a study about senses and fragrances and how men and women both respond to, they did this whole study. Number 1 was lavender and number 2 was pumpkin pie spice. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And it's because of all the memories of that pumpkin pie spice invokes of celebrations and family gatherings and happy dinners. And anyway, I thought that was interesting. And it's starting to smell like pumpkin pie spice right now. So 1 teaspoon of allspice. And a 1/2 teaspoon, no, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Wow, it smells amazing. So I need to whisk these together. Get them nice and mixed up. There we go. And then I'm going to add them to our better do it with spatula. I don't want it to poof. I'm just going to put it all in and mix it with a spatula. And this will give me, I don't use a mixer very much when I cook because I really do like to use the energy of my body. But if you're whisking egg whites or creaming butter, you sort of have to. So I'm gonna mix this together And then we're going to add a half a cup of, I'm using dried cranberries. Original recipe calls for currants, and I would have loved to have tried that. I couldn't find any here. And in order to get it into the right texture, I'm gonna have to put up to 6 tablespoons of milk. I'm gonna start with just 3. You know, in baking bread, liquid is an interesting thing because you never really know how much liquid you need, because it's the part that determines it is the flour, what kind of flour, how it was milled, where it was grown, what the weather conditions were like when it was grown. It all makes you, it all depends on whether it's thirsty and can take a lot of water, or whether it's not, whether it hydrates with just a small amount. And this one's pretty thirsty. So I'm gonna try 2 more. Brings us to 5 tablespoons of milk. That's gonna take the full 6. All right. Now I'm going to put it back on to mix. I think it will mix it just fine. Okay. Now we have a nice dough.
Is it similar to like a soda bread?
It's really like shortbread. It's like a biscuit, like a shortbread biscuit. Each one of these will be cut out. We'll roll them out and cut them out. So I'm going to change up my workspace. There's over here.
How many times do you create when you're creating recipe? How many times do you make the recipe before it?
Oh my gosh, it depends on what it is, but that pumpkin fettuccine I probably made 6 times, and it sometimes they just don't turn out. Remember that pea protein craze and the pea protein burgers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one that I never got right. I tried probably 12.
Tilt your camera back up, Laurel.
I'm sorry?
We can only see your, well, we can see your workspace, sorry.
I'm sorry. So pea protein, yeah, I never got it right. I made great falafels, but I could not make a pea protein burger. So, you know, it does. It's a lot of trial and error. But that's okay. Everybody likes to eat, so.
That's probably half of the fun of creating.
It is. It is.
Maybe not when they're terrible.
All right. Yeah, some you just have to give up. Okay. I'll put this on here. And
do you have any favorite recipes in the book? I mean, I'm sure you do have several.
There's a lemon ricotta cake that I really love. Oh, there's a walnut jammy cookie that is Luke's favorite. Yeah, there's a bunch actually. there's quite a few. Oh, there is a Brussels sprout smush with carrots and potatoes. It's really, really yummy. I discovered that one after moving up here. I had never eaten Brussels sprouts before coming up here. So I'm gonna have to roll this out.
Do you now grow Brussels sprouts in your garden? Do they grow well there?
They do grow well here. I've had a bit of a issue though with gnats in Brussels sprouts. The first time I grew them, it was just a throwaway crop right to my compost bin because of all the gnats. And then my neighbor told me that she had to put wraps around hers, wrap them in cloth, and and it worked. That works. Okay, so I'm going to cut these out into biscuit shapes. This kitchen has a lot of room, but I found out that no matter how much room, when you start cooking, there's never really enough. So this is what we're going to end up with. Cute little biscuit shapes like this. I couldn't find my biscuit cutter, so I had to use the lid, but it works great. I think it works better than my biscuit cutter did.
I think I only ever use the lids. I think my biscuit cutter has a top, so it's easy to pop through.
Right.
Yeah.
And to make these cute, soul cakes usually have a cross cut in the middle of them. Don't want to cut too far into it, but just enough to mark it. And you can stud them. Sometimes presentation is what makes a...
Could you change your camera angle again, please?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Thank you. Can you see?
Yep, that's better. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. So I'm just going to stud those. Oh, I'm so glad I used the gluten-free flour because I want to eat these. Yeah, it was really annoying when I found out that my psoriasis is triggered by gluten. Because I love baking. I love baking bread. So it was really, it's really stressing to find that out, to have to give that up.
At least now there are some really wonderful alternatives.
Oh, there are so many.
I know that
so
traditional bread isn't the same, but
they're getting closer and closer too. Sometimes you can't even really tell. I found a pizza crust the other day that bakes up wonderfully. So there you go. What do you think?
they look beautiful.
Now I'm going to pop these in the oven at 375, and it's a short time, just like a cookie. It's 12 to 15 minutes. My oven cooks kind of hot, so I'm going to do 13 minutes. Oh, shoot. Let's see. Okay. I don't know why I'm trying to set that one. I'm going to set this one. There it goes. And I'm just going to save this for the next batch. And what would you like to talk about while they're cooking?
Okay. Can you talk about the spiritual usages of ingredients and how did you learn about them? You've talked a little bit about that.
It was in the collecting of the lore. How it started was eons ago when they were looking at the doctrine of signature.
Tilt your camera back up. Sorry.
Oh, how's that? So eons ago, when philosophers were looking at the doctrines of signatures, they decided on the ancient foods like wheat and apples, and most of the foods in the old world were ascribed with some kind of properties. And so those I could just look up, but most of the New World foods like peppers and potatoes and tomatoes, they were not. So that took some digging. But you know, you look at how they were depicted in the old stories and in art, and what is a New World food? Pumpkin. Pumpkin is a New World food, and the Native Americans ascribed it as being a gift from the goddess, and to them it was a goddess incarnate, and it has energy for stability and abundance, and the pumpkin is what helped the pilgrims survive through their first winters, because it's a fantastic winter squash that just keeps for so long, and it's so nutritious. You know, it's full of beta carotene that our bodies turn it into vitamin A and use to fight cancer and the cold and fight age-related diseases. And yeah, anyway, and it tastes great. I love pumpkins.
And it's versatile.
And very versatile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet or savory.
Right.
What are some ideas we could use from your book as we go into the holiday season, including winter solstice or even Thanksgiving? You know, it's sooner than winter solstice. So,
well, you know, Thanksgiving is all about this. It's about celebrating the harvest. It's about being grateful for our bounty. It's about gathering our families together and making memories and honoring them and appreciating their presence. For a lot of the history of man, people died over the winter. Foods ran out. People starved to death and got colds and all kinds of things. So at this time of year, people set to right all the wrongs from the year before and made wills and paid off their loans just in case they didn't make it. And a lot of that is in the lore of this season. You know, we're seeing nature go from a time of growth to a time of dormancy. And as the year turns cold and dark, our mood also gets kind of gloomy. So with the cooking of the food, we do heartier fare during the celebrations. Like I've already made chili and stew. I switched up from salads and fresh fruits and vegetables to hearty, hot dishes.
So we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and on your blog, which you can talk to us about your blog.
Oh, sure.
You spoke about opening your heart to gratitude. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that a bit? That's not always easy for everyone.
Gratitude is such a wonderful vehicle for personal growth, for happiness, for just being in the moment and enjoying your life. It not only does it lift your outlook, but it gives you a whole new sense of appreciation for the beauty of nature and finding miracles in teeny tiny little things. You know, the details of a tiny flower or the sight of a hummingbird at your feeder. It's when we face the world with gratitude, life really does become magical. But whenever you're doing kitchen magic and you're putting your intent in, anytime you engage an emotion, it helps to fuel. So if you love someone and you put all your love into your food and then you be your best person, that person cannot help but respond to you. If you are angry and you put something in to drive someone away, you're going to make them feel uncomfortable. You know, it's just, emotions are very strong catalysts for intention and getting energies flowing. But gratitude is my favorite.
It's a good one.
Yeah. If you want to be happy, it's a good one.
What have you learned from other cooks?
Oh my gosh, I have learned sorry, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but I have learned so much from other cooks. I learned everything I know from other cooks pretty much. Right now, when I first went on this no gluten and trying not to eat too much sugar, I started following Sarah Wilson and several other bloggers that have already done this lifestyle. And I learned so much about different alternative flours and how you can use other foods. But lately, I found America's Test Kitchen, and I love how they tell you why something's working and why it's not. And I also found the Barefoot Contessa, Enid Gardner. I love her. I love French cooking, and I love how she takes these incredibly extravagant, time-consuming recipes and breaks them down to something you can use that works. One of my signature dishes is her beef bourguignon. If you were to follow the old school way to do that, it would take a whole day, but she has made it so you can make a masterful dish in 3 hours, and it's full of flavor, and it will impress anyone that eats beef. That's my, when Zach comes over, I make that for him.
That's her son. Okay, what have you learned from, go ahead.
Either that or the chicken and wine one. What is that one called? Coco Van. Yeah, those are his two favorites.
What have you learned from other authors, and then other authors that are witches and maybe they write cookbooks similar to you?
Yeah.
Do you have a group that you can talk about all this?
Not a group, but I read nonstop. I'm at the library probably 4 times a week. I almost went today, but I ran out of time. But I always have a book stack too. I read right over here. So I have my book stack of what I'm reading right now. And I just finished this today, Agatha Raisin in the Haunted House. I think I'm an old lady now because I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. But I'm also reading the Paleo Bread Bible. Heather Green's Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. It's a study of witchcraft and American cinema. It is fascinating. Hollywood informs so much of our knowledge about things. And anyway, it's a fantastic study. And oh my gosh, this is my new favorite cookbook. I checked this out at the library and I loved it so much I had to buy my own copy. But it is phenomenal. It is just amazing. And it's a whole bunch, it's 100 different chefs and their favorite recipes.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that at our library.
It's fabulous. It's my new favorite cookbook. What are you reading?
Oh, well, I did have a cookbook. It's the newest King Arthur. It's just a brick. It's just giant. But King Arthur, you know.
I can smell this.
Yeah, I wish I could smell it.
It's sweet and spicy. It's like a spice cake or gingerbread. That's what it smells like.
Oh,
Anyway, I interrupted you.
I do remember that your favorite thing was fruitcake.
Oh, I love fruitcake.
Is
I
that
haven't made one yet that's any good. You know what? You have
so?
to.
It's not in the cookbook.
No, you have to
Fruitcake.
let them set for like 8 months, and that's always scared me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I'm also reading a couple of mysteries.
Any good ones?
I'm reading the second of the Thursday Murder Club.
Thursday Murder Club. Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's I like it a lot.
I just found Ellie Griffith, and I love her.
I love her too.
I read all of them. I just read them all in a row.
The Ruth Galloway one? Or
Yes. No, Ruth Galloway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, her newer series I like a lot too. I think there's only 2 of them so far.
I haven't tried them yet.
Blanking on the names. It's very different from the Ruth Galloway, but very good. Should we open up to any Q&A from?
Yes, why not?
And then I'll think if I have any more questions for you, and maybe.
I have a minute until those are ready.
Perfect. Anyone has any questions for Laurel? You can put them either in the chat or Q&A. Katie, I don't know if anything has come through on the Q&A at this point. I have another question for you, Laurel.
Yes.
Does writing energize you or exhaust you, or
No, I write in the morning. First thing, before I get dressed or anything, I go downstairs and start writing and get my mind working, and it fuels the entire day. I would be so bored without it. And I'm playing with a mystery.
Oh, of course.
So the Witch of Wood Hollow. I don't know if anything will come of it, but it's patterned off of Midsummer Murders.
Fun.
Yeah. It's great fun. It's great fun. So writing's one of my pleasures. It's one of the things I love to do.
So that's what you write in the mornings. You write fiction, or
no? I usually have something I have to finish, and I've been thinking about it throughout the night. Excuse me. And I'll jump in and work on that. It's in the evening times I fool around with my murder mystery.
Okay.
Let me get those out.
Okay.
Oh, they're pretty and they smell really good. They're nicely tanned on the edges and the bottom. I think a sprinkle of sugar before they cooked would have been nice too, if you're not avoiding sugar. You know, if you don't mind sweet.
They look lovely. And yeah, I think a nice sprinkle of like a crunchy sugar on top.
Yeah.
Always delicious.
Aren't they pretty though? Can you see? So kids would come to your door singing songs and you'd hand them out while they went caroling. That's the idea behind these.
And they're the soul cakes
Soul
recipe from the book?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like just after that part in the book is leave a dish of pole cannon for the fairies.
Oh yes, and
all these wonderful old traditions.
And you know, I love cabbage and mashed potatoes together. Although I think the original Colcan was kale and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
And I've never done a kale and mashed potatoes, but cabbage and mashed potatoes is fantastic. But mashed potatoes is great with almost anything.
So you didn't talk too much about spell work. Do you have a favorite spell, or does it just kind of change with what your intention is?
You know, since I started practicing conscious creation every day, I only would do a spell if need arises. And okay, the other day I had to. I had the weirdest experience. I was making that pond and I had to go to Home Depot again for the 4th or 5th time. And I was trying to figure out if there was anything else that I needed before I was leaving. I was at the register and I just got up and the clerk, for some reason, sent me over. He finished with the guy in front of me and then said, go over to that one. So I did. I went over and I was just waiting for him. I thought it was some new COVID thing, you know, have to clean up or something. But it turned out that was the new self-checkout and he wanted me to check out myself. And I didn't get it until he came over and said, oh, it's the new self-checkout. And I went, oh, okay. And so I started to check out. The label on the pond liner I was trying to buy was the shipping label and it wouldn't work. So he had to ring it up anyway. And something about, I mean, I wasn't too attentive because I was thinking about things I needed. So I wasn't that responsive, but I think he got angry with me. And anyway, as I was walking out, I had this weird feeling and I turned around, looked at him and he was scowling at me. And then this pendant of a blue eye, it's my protection amulet, it broke and fell on the ground. And I thought, oh my gosh, he just cursed me. And I went home and then I lost my wedding ring. It's gone. It's been gone for 2 weeks. And he says, we'll have to get a metal detector, look for it because it's in the pond somewhere. It's made into the pond.
That's not the first one you've lost, is it?
No, it's
You
not.
lose your first
The third one. It's the third one. But anyway, because this psoriasis thing, I have this thing with swelling. So the rings I use are pretty big. And when I have a good day and I'm not retaining, like I'm full of water right now, I'm just so swollen. On a good day when I'm not full of water, my fingers are so much thinner and I lose rings. Yeah. But anyway, so I came home and I realized that I was having bad luck. Another thing happened. I don't remember what it was, but I realized I was having bad luck. And so I did a cleansing spell and I buried the rest of my amulet under my fir trees. And I asked my fir trees to watch them for me. And then I took a cleansing bath and my luck came back. I never found my ring, but nothing else bad happened. So I only do spells pretty much when the need arises or I feel the need arises.
Yeah. Thought of a question, but now I forgot it. Okay. Advice to those looking for a more fulfilling existence. I know you've kind of touched on all these.
No, I know. Life is magical. Nature is magical. If you just open your eyes to the beauty, if you stop multitasking and be present, you will find the magic all around you. I think that's the multitasking has ruined our society. Hurrying here and there, eating on the go, you know, it just, if we slow down, we find ourselves again. And we see the magic around us. And this is an amazing, even with all the craziness going on, even with the horrible things in the world, this is an amazing earth. And there's beauty all around us.
Thank you. I love that. So you said, but I'll ask again, what is the next challenge and or creation on your horizon? So you have your book.
Yes.
It's not done yet, or is it done yet?
I just gave it back to the editor again. I had to cut, I don't even know how much. I had to get it down to 110,000 words. So I had to cut a substantial part from it and turn it back in. So that's back in, and she will go through it and then give it back to me again. And that's okay. I welcome this process because it makes it a beautiful product. You know, I have a whole team making this amazing product, so that's fine. But I have a third one I'm working on, a wellness witchery, and it has been a lot of fun. Just doing different self-care recipes and things.
And your mystery.
And mystery, yeah. That's just a pleasure. That's just for me.
And you did not talk about your blog at all. Did you want to plug that? Is it not very active?
I was this summer, you know what, it's summertime. When I'm in my garden, I'm on my blog all the time, updating, putting up things, putting in new recipes. But once the holidays hit, it gets harder to find the time to put into it. But it's there. It has a lot of articles in it. I started that in 2007. Yeah, it has a lot of stuff. Pretty much all the meditation articles, all the articles I did for own times and such are in there. Somewhere.
Okay, I don't, last chance, if you have any questions that you would like Laurel to answer, type them into the Q&A or the chat. I want to talk about things that are going on at the library tomorrow, Thursday night. Chris Ujalian, I believe is how you say his name. The author is going to have a talk. Many libraries around the Chicagoland are participating in it. Oh, it's Wednesday night. Thank you. So it is tomorrow night. And you can sign up for that on our website, clpl.org, from our calendar. And then it's a Zoom webinar as well. So you can just tune in and listen to that. Yes, tomorrow night, Wednesday night. And then coming up, starting the first week in November, we're having kind of a month-long a variety of programs, some live programs, some recorded, some crafts, all around Louisa May Alcott and Little Women. So
that sounds fun.
Pardon?
That sounds fun.
Yes, there's a ton of stuff going on. Different librarians are doing different programs. There's, as I said, there's crafts that you can do, and there's, I think, an actor coming in. Katie, remind me. Pat is doing crafts. I'm making apple turnovers.
Yum.
Katie's doing some readings from the book. They're going to have Bookies is reading it, and the Young Adult Book Club is reading it. And then I believe Paul is watching it, and then they're doing a book discussion or a movie discussion about it. So a lot of fun stuff going on with that. November 16th is Louisa May Alcott Trail. Thank you, Pat. So yes, tons of stuff going on in November, all around Little Women. Any other questions or anything you want to know from Laurel?
I started nibbling on these. They are so good. I wish we were here to have one because they are so yummy.
I think I'm going to have to maybe make those tomorrow.
They
do
are
have
good.
dried cranberries. Yeah, they look so
delicious.
Good. Okay, well, it has been recorded and it'll be up on YouTube. And thank you so much, Laurel, for spending this time.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
It has been so wonderful, and I'm so excited that your book got published.
Oh, me too.
I can't wait to read your garden book. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Good night, everybody.